Impeachment inquiry is just asking the question. We're just asking members of Congress, do you think we should inquire about impeachment? It's not saying, do you want to impeach? It's saying, should we just ask the question? And at this point right now, I'm like, what the hell is wrong with Republicans that we can't just, hey guys, maybe ask the question. Maybe we should just ask and think about it and look at it and investigate in a much broader way and with more subpoena power. Just ask the question. So I'm at home in my house in Rome. I've been at home hanging out with all of the great, wonderful, normal people that actually have a brain and have common sense.
Marjorie Taylor Greene has been gunning for an impeachment of Joe Biden for some time now, and now it's clear that Greene, who is safe in a MAGA red district in Georgia, doesn't care that an impeachment could mean that her own GOP loses the House of Representatives in 2024. But some bombshell news also came out of this MTG interview, which is rare for the MAGA Congress member who typically just goes onto these far-right platforms and says nothing of substance. But now she's revealing that Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, is apparently going to bring impeachment hearings against Joe Biden this September.
If we were to have the vote today, right now, Kevin McCarthy would be one of the first ones to vote yes. So it's not our speaker. It's still some of these few remaining Republicans that maybe won a Biden district or they, for whatever reason, I don't know. But I think that our conference is coming together, and we should be voting on this in September. If we don't, you're going to see the Marjorie Taylor Greene you've always known, because I will not be.
So this demonstrates that, among other things, that the GOP has no strategy of leadership or governing, besides whining to the media about how Joe Biden needs to be impeached. And what's frustrating about this interview is that the far-right media does nothing to quell this ridiculous strategy, but just goads it right on. Earlier in the interview, the anchor practically begs Greene to explain why Biden hasn't been impeached yet, and praises her for introducing articles of impeachment, quote, on day one of Joe Biden's presidency back in 2021. And that reminder is a great insight into just how much of a charade the current far-right wing of the GOP is, because it begs the question, how could a president be guilty of a crime if he hasn't even been in office for a day? And admittedly, I think that technically impeachment can stem backwards to when the president wasn't in office, at least it did in the case of Donald Trump, but for all intents and purposes, we all know it's supposed to be for conduct in office. And it gets to the heart of why these non-stop impeachment inquests, from the Democrats as well, are so brain-breaking. It's what is so busted about our politics today that there's a faction of lunatics in Congress who view impeaching the president as a strategy rather than a mechanism by which to hold the president accountable as a last resort when bipartisanship fails. I mean, she says it out loud. The only people holding off on signaling their support of impeaching Joe Biden are those Republicans who won a Biden district. And yeah, no shit, because they are serving their people who aren't, like you, from the reddest of red districts in this country who voted for Trump by over 70%. She would rather throw her colleagues under the bus because she literally does not understand that people's political beliefs fall on a spectrum. Not everyone is a slave to King Donald Trump. This screed by Marjorie Taylor Greene just shows how she doesn't care about the systems in place via our Constitution. But more importantly, it's very revealing as to just how bad she is at her job, a job she swore an oath to the American people to perform. She just uses the impeachment buzzword so much because she doesn't have the intelligence or courage to use the massive amount of power she already has as a congresswoman to legislate, lead discussions on policy, or make the necessary relationships across the aisle to actually help Americans. No, her only strategy is to whine to the media about how we must impeach Joe Biden. She's like a kid in a sporting event who would rather scream at the referee for being unfair than put in the work to win. She's safe in her deep red MAGA district and has no idea that most Americans are not as viciously far right as she is. For more of my coverage on the breakdown, check out my latest video where a Trump fanboy reveals why he still supports Donald Trump by clicking on the link in the description box below. Thanks so much for watching. I'm going to be taking a few months off of the Young Turks, but don't worry, I'll be back. And in the meantime, please make sure to follow me on all platforms, including Substack at CaroJohnson917.